think one of the best things about collaborating in music is that you can showcase other people's creative vision. Hi Klat, I'm Freyja Elsy and this is my Get to Know Me. So I started getting into music when I was really young. I started playing the flute when I was about 7. And then a few years later started playing the piano. I was really lucky that I had access to free music lessons from the council where I was living at the time, at my school, and the kind of love for music kind of grew from there. I really had an affinity for it, so I developed that through school. I kept having music lessons, and then throughout high school and beyond, I decided to go to music school to study a music degree in just like a classical based music bachelor's degree, which I kind of focused in on composition mainly. And during that degree I learnt more about studio techniques, which it was mainly for learning how to write film scores using like a digital audio workspace within music and within composition. But it opened up a whole world to me about how to produce songs and how to produce music and kind of go beyond traditional music composition into a world of electronic and sound and audio and sound design. Yeah, and I developed that further. So after I graduated, I kind of downloaded a couple of free like DAWs, like Reaper, settled on Cubase in the end. And then like practiced self-producing and learning how to write music from there. Yeah, and it kind of I built this whole world of how can I create songs and how can I create music from home, and kind of had that autonomy to do it myself. Yeah, it's just kind of developed from there. Yeah, it was really, really encouraging. I have been releasing music since about 2021, and I'd had support back then with my debut single Lungs from people like Adam Walton and Bethan Alvin, and they're both such great advocates for early career music, independent Welsh music, and it was really encouraging that they felt connected to it and they wanted to share it further. I'd only kind of just started experiencing how to release music myself and sharing that with the world, so that was an incredible experience, and being able to develop my producing further since then to create an EP by myself and have that released and have that received really well was a really encouraging experience. It's really affirming that, you know, your music is connecting with people and others feel like it should be shared, and know that other people will feel connected to it as well. So something I really love about trip hop is it's already like a blend of genres. You've got kind of this psychedelic dub, hip hop mix with these elements of like orchestral, cinematic, kind of ethereal, electronic elements in it as well. So I already love that that's sort of like a blended genre already. Synthpop is kind of like an adjacent electronic genre. I love that it can be really, really upbeat and full of energy. And I think something that's kind of, I don't know if skulking's the right word, or like kind of mysterious and kind of slower paced, combined with something like synthpop is, I don't know, it's an interesting mix. And I think I like building a song from kind of a trip hop angle and then kind of developing it into something that's synth pop. I think that's really fun. Yeah, something that draws me both to Aurora and Massive Attack is how cinematic their songs can be. Particularly with Aurora's folk background, and she's got a lot of kind of folktronic elements in her music. And kind of the epic nature of some of, and very moving moments in some of Massive Attack songs. I think some of them are very, very beautiful and interesting and full of intrigue. I love combining both of those elements together. I think with the kind of soaring, ethereal vocals of Aurora, I think she's got an incredible voice, and there's so much power behind it that I'd love to kind of bring that into some of my songs. And then with Massive Attack, it's the power behind it, but this like subtle drama underneath in terms of like the music and the composition. Something I love about both Aurora and Massive Attack is that they're both, the themes of the songs that they create and the pieces they create are sort of aligned with the things I strongly believe in, and kind of the values that I want to channel into some of my music. They're very socially aware, they're very political, they're very in tune with the environment, and saving the planet. We went to the Act 1.5 festival last year that Massive Attack held, which was just incredible, and it was the first like carbon neutral festival, which was incredible because having that as a start to being able to create more sustainable concerts and festivals in future, that was just really, really inspiring. And I think I think a lot of the things that they feel moved by, I also feel moved by, and I like to channel that into my music as well. I often start with a melody or a textural sound, or maybe like a synth that feels like it could turn into something. It will usually start with like a small cell of an idea, and then build into something more. I like to kind of create at least 4 to 8 to 16 bar phrases and see if that can develop a feeling, and maybe create like a lyrical melody on top of that. I do kind of collect lyrics, so I have like multiple notepads or a notepad on my phone where I'll just kind of think of phrases or pieces of poetry that will come to me during the day or wherever I'm at, something that might have inspired me or something I want to think about later, and then use that as I bring it into something that I've created that invokes a certain feeling. Sometimes it's just sitting at the piano, coming up with a few phrases, starting with a key and seeing what develops from there. I like to start with the music because I think that creates the basis of a theme and how you want to build from that, and then see what comes later. Something I really love about collaborating with other artists, and particularly this is what I found with my remix EP that I released recently from my debut EP, is that each of these collaborators have their own really unique sense of style in their music or their creation, composition or production. And I think one of the best things about collaborating in music is that you can showcase other people's creative vision. And I really loved that they picked a song from the remix EP, sorry, the original EP, that they felt connected with, and then put their own spin on it and either turn it into something completely different that I'd never even dreamed of, which sounds incredible, or they've interpreted something they've already created in a completely different angle, and then turn it into something new. And I think that's really special. And I think it, I always want to foster collaboration and showcasing other people's talents, because there's so many talented, brilliant people out there, and they deserve to have their music shared. So I started writing over it back in 2021, during lockdown, which I felt like was a real moment of pause for a lot of people. For me, I had just graduated university, I'd only kind of just started in the world of work, and I was kind of reevaluating what that meant for me and where I, who I was in the world, where I was in the world, and realising that the world I had kind of been told about wasn't quite the reality of the situation. I realised that a lot of systems in place within the world weren't built for everybody. They're kind of built for a certain demographic of people. It benefits a very small percentage of people, and the reality of that was kind of dawning on me in this moment where I could stop and really think about that. And I was doing a lot of reading into these systems and realizing that we did have an opportunity to make things better for so many people. And yeah, the idea of this kind of contradicting feelings of wanting to progress in a career or wanting to progress in your field, but also being met with the realization that it's going to be a lot harder for you because you're not part of a certain group of people, that there were these contrasting feelings. So I wanted to write that in the song where you've got these kind of contrasting lines of, but this is what you should be doing, but this is how I feel, and it's at odds with each other. And where does that place me? How can we change something? Can we make this better? And yeah, I think in terms of the music in that song, the start of the song is really reflective on those feelings, and it builds and builds and builds with hopefully the feeling that we can change something and that there is hope underneath all of that contradictory frustration. I've always been really drawn to folk music, whether that's instrumental folk music, traditional folk music, or folk-inspired classical music. And I think that there is such a beauty in the actual music of it. But there's something that grounds folk music in community and storytelling. And it's something that I've always wanted to explore a bit more in my music, but also to kind of broaden out into collaborating with other musicians, which is a plan I have for future music going forward. I've done a lot of self-production and bedroom pop kind of music, and I've really, really loved that, and it gives me a kind of world to explore from home on my little computer and with music myself, but I want to be able to collaborate more. And I do feel like folk-styled music and classical cinematic music can naturally blend together, and I'd really love to see how we can expand that into electronic elements and kind of combine it together and turn it into something completely new. Yeah, it was really amazing to receive the Launchpad Fund from Horizons. It was a really exciting moment, and it was really affirming that I think at this point in my career I was ready to explore more in my creative practice and develop the sounds that I've kind of been practicing over the last few years. I've done a lot of self-producing and bedroom pop from home, and something that I'm really excited to do next with the help of Horizons is to collaborate with other musicians, record something new, explore different genres, and maybe bring more kind of improvised music and collaboration. Hang on, not improvised music. Bring new angles from other people's styles into my music. I mean, both Dana Gavansky and Bride, I mean, it was a great experience to support both of them. They're both solo artists, but both of those shows were done in a really different way. So Dana performed with a band of other session musicians, and she also has quite an electronic element to her music. So being able to see how you can bring like electronic based production to a stage with other musicians and create a band from it was really exciting to see. It's something I really want to do in future with my music. I've started kind of playing with the idea of having other instruments on stage, including an electric double bass, which has been really fun. So yeah, I think the next stage is developing more and how can we bring those textures to a performance setting with other musicians would be really fun. And then on the other hand, the performances that I did for the Bride show, Bride often performs with a band or by herself, and this was one that she did solo with just herself and an electric guitar. And it was amazing to see how you can command a room with just yourself, just your voice, just a guitar, and really share the stories and the feelings within your music. in such a stripped down setting. It was really inspiring to see that, and has really encouraged me to kind of see how that applies to my own music. But yeah, ever since I started releasing music, thinking about how I can bring it to stage has always been something that's been on my mind, and that's been a really fun thing I've been able to practice, is how can we bring such a thick texture and all these different layers and electronic elements to a stage where it's usually just me and a keyboard and backing. I also have a lot of vocal textures in my music, so being able to kind of incorporate that into hopefully not completely too complicated a setup, but seeing how that can develop has been really, really beneficial and really fun, and it's helped me understand more about how to develop a live show. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how that can go in future. Having come from a very strict classical background, I think that has provided me with a lot of helpful tools in terms of, like, you know, traditional Western music theory. I think that has really helped me understand, you know, the structures of music in that sense. But being able to explore more electronic production and kind of understand how you can blend those two worlds together has kind of opened up these doors into new sound worlds, and exploring, you know, breaking those rules of traditional Western music theory and turning it into something else, and seeing how you can incorporate all these different kinds of textures and timbres, and or whether that's an instrument that you have recorded and want to completely mess up the sound and turn it into something else. I think it's been a really fun experience. I think instead of it being something that's been a struggle to balance, it's more of all of these different elements in music production and creation are tools, and you can use them, or you can bend the rules in different kinds of ways and try and explore something new. So it's always about adding more to your knowledge, and seeing how that can turn into something really creative and something new. I think visuals are a really, really important part of music. I think there's a real opportunity where you can use visuals to enhance the message of what you're trying to get across, or maybe enhance the feelings underneath the music that you're creating. And that's something I really thought about when I was releasing Modern Artifice, my debut EP. I collaborated with an artist called Maria Tilt, who's an incredible digital artist and oil painter. And I was really drawn to her art because of this really striking combination of colour with red and navy and cream, and those colours are really, I think they were just so bold and interesting, particularly in the setting of the style that she creates with these individuals and these figures that you see, whether that's like a silhouette, or if that's kind of an up close frame of someone's face. And yeah, the composition between the light and the dark sides of her artwork really stuck out to me, and it was something that I really wanted to collaborate with her on the artwork for the EP, because I think it really put across these feelings of maybe frustration and strength, and yeah, inner kind of turmoil in a way, which is a few of the things that I was exploring in the EP, alongside kind of existentialism, and in the artwork of Modern Artifice, you've got this kind of mountain of figures that you can't really see, with this kind of individual at the bottom looking up at it, and kind of that feeling of overwhelm, and knowing that this is a kind of a world that you're fighting against or trying to make sense of. I really wanted that bold imagery to come across, and that kind of shaped how I wanted the rest of the visuals surrounding the EP and my music at the time. I wanted that same colour scheme, and I really wanted that same feelings to be evoked in the colour of a lot of the pictures and the music video that we did for Over It. I was able to collaborate with Ed Townend on that video. I kind of came to him with, these are the ideas of the themes of the EP and the song, and how can we create a video that responds to these kind of feelings, and can we represent those feelings? So we ended up with a kind of projected imagery onto like a live performance of the track with these this dark kind of red colouring, and then I left it up to him to do these really cool editing and kind of glitchiness, and yeah, it's overwhelming, but it's really exciting and visually really, really interesting, and I think he did an amazing job. I think in the past, up until now, I think the cinematic element has always been part of my music, because I think from both a classical contemporary composition background, but also because I write short film scores and I score audio dramas as well, that will always kind of leak into my solo project. And I think it's been really fun to see how you can blend a cinematic element with pop and electronic and trip hop. But I think that element has been able to enhance the sub feelings of songs. I think a lot of my songs have been quite metaphorical in terms of the lyrics, rather than kind of like a linear story. So the music kind of tells the story as well as just the lyrics. Yeah, I'm really, really excited to be part of the Forte group this year. I feel really pleased to be part of it and really excited to see how this year goes. I think for me, because I feel quite early career, there's so much, I feel like I'm kind of at the tip of the iceberg with understanding how the music industry works. It's quite an enigmatic industry, and there's so much kind of inner workings and knowing how to understand your work as kind of a business and from a marketing perspective. I think it's a fascinating world, and I feel like I'd love to learn more about how to develop that further. And really, really, I think I'm really excited about developing kind of connections between other people in the industry. I'm a real advocate for collaboration and being able to work with other artists or other people who are involved in the industry, whether that's kind of booking agents or managers or visual artists or photographers and videographers and everyone who is part of this world. I think the only way we can kind of build the industry and help it to create more of an equitable and enjoyable and sustainable sustainable industry is that we foster these connections with collaboration. And I think Forte Project and Horizons are two amazing organisations that are able to do that and particularly support younger artists at the beginning of their career. So I'm really, really excited. Whenever I write music, I'm really moved by what I'm seeing in the world around me and the kind of feelings that conjures up in my own heart and how I interact with the world and my place in it. And some of the things that have moved me particularly is about how we can build a world to benefit everybody and not just a small set of individuals. I really feel very strongly about that, and I want to be able to communicate that in my music, but also how we can work with the planet rather than destroying it for our own gain. That's something that is really, really important to me. And how we can look after each other and how we can build community. It's something that I advocate for, but it's something that I want to feel more positive about in my music. And I think I can go between feeling a little bit hopeless and frustrated about things and use music to kind of express that and get it out into the world. And I think a few people have come up to me and told me that they felt connected with some of the things that I've explored in my music, but I don't always want to be doom and gloom. I want to be able to share positivity, or at least encouragement that we can work together and we can build something that's better for everybody.